The Eurozone recovery continued to gain momentum in August, with the region seeing its largest monthly increase in business activity over the last 2 years. Joining me down the line to share her perspectives is Ginny Yan, economist with Standard Chartered. Ginny, PMI services for Germany were better than expected, but French data disappointed. What was your take on these figures and what impact will they have on the market, do you think?
Yeah, certainly the stronger German data outweighed the slightly disappointing French data overall. But if we look at the detailed breakdown of the PMIs, we really look at the output, new businesses, export orders, and also employment components. So comparing France to Germany, in France we had both manufacturing and services output both down. New businesses-wise, the services sector fell faster in August, but there wasn't a marginal increase in terms of new businesses for the manufacturing sector. And then on employment, actually, the story is relatively positive here, as both services and manufacturing sectors saw a similar rate of a fall in terms of employment, but relatively stable. So in France, the manufacturing and services sectors have a sort of mixed picture. But when we look at Germany, we had solid increases in overall business activity, and this was actually the strongest since this January. Manufacturing output growth was actually faster than services, and it was the fastest since June 2011. So both sectors across the board with increasing output. In terms of new businesses in Germany, this was the sharpest expansion in 7 months, and it was particularly sharp in manufacturing sector. And then the export sector returning to growth, which ends a 5-month period decline in export orders. And then lastly, on employment, relatively stable still, but with the services sector providing more jobs compared to the manufacturing sector. So overall, of course, we've got the weaker French data and stronger German data, but when you look at it in much more detail, you see that there's actually a mixed stories that there to be told.
The Eurozone crisis fears haven't completely abated, and they tend to be as much political as economical. There has been speculation that Greece might need further assistance or indeed a haircut, which could receive German opposition. What would trouble the markets most, do you think, though? That Merkel is defeated, perhaps undoing hard work, or that she will be re-elected and adopt a harder line against Europe?
Well, I think out of these two scenarios, the latter will probably be the more likely scenario, given that Merkel is very much leading in the polls and the current coalition looks likely to be re-elected. But we've always basically said that the Greek situation has indeed been a campaign hot topic ahead of these elections, and the current problem risks bringing the crisis to the fore in Merkel's last crucial weeks of campaigning. And of course, the key is the funding gap. Now, of course, her oppositions have been, talking about and also debating on just how big this funding gap for Greece is. And the IMF have estimated 10.9 billion euros for this funding gap in 2014-2015. Now, the real number, as Merkel herself said, is unlikely to be known in exact because there's so many variables in there. But the key is that the decision about how to meet longer-term financing needs is clarified by whoever wins the elections. And if Merkel is re-elected, obviously this gives her longer time to try and explain, how she will carry out her strategy and, how the longer-term financing needs may be met. So either through new financing and restructuring of officially held debt. So really this needs to be much more clearly explained by Merkel if she is to succeed, both ahead of the elections and also after the elections, to keep her credibility.
The US dollar is gaining some momentum against most currencies, including the euro. Considering the hawkish FOMC meeting minutes, is the renewed Eurozone optimism enough to give impetus to the single currency, or are you still bearish on it moving forward?
it does seem that the dollar is gaining further momentum, really, given the upbeat sentiment globally. In terms of the euro, yes, we saw a little bit of a euro strength recently, but it seems to us that, yes, euro recovery will be hand in hand with the overall macro recovery in the rest of the region, and this will probably last until the first quarter of next year, we believe. But after the second quarter of next year, we expect the euro to continue its sort of weaker trend, given the uncertainties, obviously, after the economies have started to stabilize. Where are the growth drivers coming from in the rest of the region? And especially if the German acceleration, which we're seeing at the moment, starts to fade out.
Jenny, thank you so much for your time and perspectives. Also today we have the release of Chinese PMIs, which is the focus of our press review with Louise Macaulay, so please do click back for that. Goodbye for now.